Hello everyone, in this video we're making another airplane. Now this may come as a surprise because I mentioned in previous video that I'm not huge on airplanes in this game just because VTOL's helicopters interact so much better with the ships I like to make. Well, I watched a movie with Mel Gibson called Air America. It showed amazing flight scenes and I just got so inspired to make sort of these smaller cargo planes. So you can see the two I've just put together, and we're going to build a smaller one. That will be the smallest one, and hopefully that will wrap up and tie off my airplane craze for now. Before I get into that, I just want to show some of the details that I put on these newest airplanes. As you can see with all of these, they have the UniCon containers, and funny enough, here they actually slide in the main direction, whereas here you actually have to put it in a perpendicular direction and then it slides in the main direction. So that is something that we will not be doing in this newest small airplane. And this video will be done in parts. I'll be showing the build in terms of making it kind of in a sequence, starting with the initial design, the detailed design, the engine and microcontrollers, all the way down to the final details. So stay tuned for all that. Let's talk inspiration. So as I said, I watched the movie early 90s and it is epic. It has great flight scenes. It has no CGI, so I highly recommend you take a look if you like this kind of thing. Anyways, this plane, the PC-6, I really like how it looks. It's kind of like a small cargo plane or passenger plane, whatever, but the point is it has a single engine in the front, and I thought I could adapt this into one of the planes that are going to fit one single UniCon container. Then I also looked at this, the Cessna 208 Caravan, and this is also a perfect example of sort of a smaller cargo plane. Again, a single propeller in the front. This one is a little bigger, obviously, but I think if I could kind of join together these two planes, I could end up with something that is really cool for Stormworks. Another source of inspiration that cannot be ignored is the de Havilland Beaver. Now, albeit some of these are seaplanes or float planes, but there are examples such as this one that is pretty much exactly what I'm going for here, including the externally mounted wheels and the fuselage shape. Now, one thing that isn't really the same as what I'm trying to do here is that nose end there. This one's very circular. I'm gonna go for a more pointy shape. As always, we'll start from scratch, and the size of this plane will be heavily dictated by this container. Now remember how I mentioned putting it in the non-main direction, or putting it in the perpendicular direction? Well, by doing that, it actually allows us to get a little narrower, because you see where this connection is here. If we rotate it like this, it actually ends up being one in. Now I'm going to play around and see what is the best thing. Maybe it will be better in the main direction, but regardless, either which way, it is square. So really what I'm looking for is the smallest possible size that will accept this. So something like that, and obviously the walls will be here, so it will be wedged in perfectly, but that is probably the size of the door opening that will really allow us to get this thing in. Now the fuselage of the plane, that is the key here, and it's really just rounding it off in the right way so it does look natural. And this does take a lot of playing around because it's not super straightforward, as you can see, but inevitably I'll get a shape that really does work. So slowly but surely kind of getting this thing worked on, as you can see. Now there is some things that will have to be adjusted off screen. I'm not going to show the me with every step of the way, but as I build this thing, I do want you all to feel very involved as part of the design process. Now the biggest differences between the PC-6 and the Cessna are the position of the wheels, which we'll get into in a second here, but you could see with this sort of shape it's really coming. Can put on this portion here, and we'll see how large or small these are, the wings, and kind of the fins and stuff. With sort of the tail end completed, what I do want to do here is actually grab the seats, move them up by one block, and that's not only going to give us a nice kind of elevated view out of the cockpit, it'll also give the cargo that headroom without making it appear like we have a massive open space. It's all about optics as well as functionality. Like, I want it to feel proper, like a plane. Not so much cramped as much just having definitely a space where you have something kind of realistic. So what we'll do is, this is again totally playing around until I perfect the right front end. I don't know, to me this looks like some kind of animal. It does not look right. Even like, I mean, imagine if I closed it off like this. Looks almost like a car or a truck, so definitely we can't have that. But I think if I just narrow it up a little bit using the long pieces here, the 1x4s. I wish we had like 1x6, but anyway, I digress. If I do something like this, and then we got to get it even narrower somehow. See, with this, what I could almost do is put one of these. Actually, this wouldn't fit, but would a 2x4 fit? To give it a bit more of a gradual slope, to make kind of this hood, almost, if you will, appear a little bit more rounded, and then that should give us the illusion of kind of the front end narrowing up. And we could do the same, continue on with the pyramid, the 2x2 pyramid like this. And you see here now we need the regular triangle piece. Maybe this will be too abrupt, but honestly I don't mind it. And now if I could just get the bottom to close in as well, so it's, rather than being like this, if it, that's not it, that is it. Okay, that's kind of the front end shape I want. Now this piece is bothersome, so I have to slowly manually start to work my way backwards, slowly deleting all this. Alright, like if I do this, once I get it in the right direction, yeah, like that. And put these here. Okay, so that's looking pretty nice now. I spawned in my other airplane and I carried over this kind of side window glass portion. Now, will this one work? I think this is too big. Okay, this is too big. Because if I do that, I get more of like an aggressive jet look. Now, how big is this? This is a 3x3x4. So what if we try one smaller than that? Like this. And then we'll just grab that middle piece from the middle of the window and place it in like that. Yeah, that looks really nice. Now we get to the wing. Okay, for the wing, what I want to do is first start off with this and then extend them out. Now we'll see how large or small I actually do make them, but for now, this is kind of what I'm envisioning, and I could even beef them up a little bit, kind of by faking thickness and doing something like this. Of course, where I put my all the control surfaces, I'll have to do some rejigging like this and probably put it in there, but for now I'm just going to leave it whole. So as I did mention, are we going to make it like the Cessna and have one single wheel up here, kind of like my other plane that has the pivot and that controls this? So that would really make it like a mini version of that. So something like this. And then I would need some sort of supports here on the side. Not too far back though, because we still have to have access. Well, we still want to be able to take off. You really don't want to put a wheel back here, for example. You'll never get the right lift. So I actually think because of this and because we need access to this door, that we may actually have to do what the PC6 does. Here it is with the wheels like the PC6, and you can see that that looks really awesome. I love that it's different than the other plane that I'm working on, or that I'm almost done. And I did make the front a little bit sloped up, and that's usually how these type of planes are, so it facilitates the taking off procedure, but of course we'll have to go to the flight test to see how that actually works. I did get the nose a little more sharp. I kind of like a little bit more of that aggressive profile here, because here it is more like a private jet or a Learjet or something, whereas here I wanted it to be a little more aggressive, so that is awesome. And I'm gonna take the doors and split them off into a new body, because what I'm going to want to do is have doors. So again, like I said, because I'm taking parts off the Cessna and sort of inspiration off of the PC6, there's going to be kind of a mishmash of stuff. So for example, I'm pretty sure the PC6 does not have doors like this, whereas the Cessna does. So the PC6 I think is small enough that all this is one big compartment, but I do like the idea of having doors, especially if a massive UniCon cargo here is blocking our way. Speaking of which, here is sort of the system with the layout in the main direction going this way. So we slide it in the perpendicular direction, but again, like I mentioned, because of these, I actually want to utilize something different. By different, I mean perpendicular. So I rigged up the H4 connectors such that I can put the container in with my ULD in a perpendicular direction. And you may notice that I even rigged up this new ULD that doesn't have that massive structure sort of above this. So while it still does go up and down, a little bit unrealistically granted on one side, but because of that, we can get ourselves underneath the wingtip here. So if I get this on the road, lift ourselves up slightly, and external clamp, okay. So now I just have to position this to align itself, and there we go. Okay, so now I go over to the container, turn off H4, turn off the perpendicular tracks, and now we just push it in. Okay, let's raise ourselves up a little. There we go. And turn on H4. And it's connected. So now with that done, I can release the clamps, put this thing in reverse, and back up. So now we've successfully loaded this new plane for the first time, and you could see it is a tight fit. I mean, in the top there's not even space above it, which is perfect. It keeps the roof profile down, so you're really not putting in large containers. In fact, you cannot fit an oversized UniCon container. You have to put in a small one, otherwise it won't work. So that is the downside of using this perpendicular direction, is that you are limited in the narrower width. If you are liking these videos, be sure to give a like, a follow, or a comment. And I do want to thank all of you for being here, for watching, for being a part of the community. I want to give a huge shout out to all of my supporters. Thank you so much, and I hope you're enjoying this video because you already have access to the plane. For the rest of you, stay tuned for the next video in this part, and until next time, happy Stormworksing everyone. One other shout out I want to give to is Jake and his website Stormlabs. I highly recommend you go take a look. This is an immersion passion project, and the Discord server is a perfect place to showcase your builds. And what's really neat is the website has a bunch of different tools. When I upload my plane, or one of my planes, you get all these neat stats. You get the dimensions, subgrids, you get volume density, cost, complexity, and not just that, logic, structure, mechanical fluid. So a lot of different things, a lot of cool stats. And honestly, this is just mind-blowing to me. Thank you, Jake, for doing this. I even have branded 454SS Gaming and Builds clean version, which has sort of my logo back there, or the scenic version, which comes with 3 different screenshots. My 454SS Ranch, I got my SAR ship, and I got ALTA. So we got kind of a little bit of everything, and you could use this, you can customize them further, and you can end up downloading it and pasting it, uploading it somewhere. So this is a great tool. One I actually requested was this electric resetter, just because there's currently some things that are going on with a lot of my old bigger builds that I should take a look at. So that is awesome that Jake and Storm Labs are going ahead. So I highly recommend you take a look, and I'll see you in the next video.